Welcome and thank you for joining us during Alumni Celebration Weekend, what we call ACW, for this exciting virtual event featuring three of our distinguished alumni. I am Jim Antony, Dean of Graduate Education and Postdoctoral Affairs here at UC San Diego, and I'm pleased to serve as today's moderator. This year's ACW theme is Destination UC San Diego. And during this roundtable, we hope to showcase a variety of pathways or destinations that our graduate alumni go after their time at UC San Diego, as well as how this place is a clear destination for scholars seeking a graduate degree or a postdoctoral experience. Now, just as a quick reminder that today's session is being recorded so that all the folks who might want to watch it at a later date or rewatch it are able to do so. As we get started today, we would love to know how you are all doing and who's in the audience. So if you feel up to it, feel free to go ahead and drop a line in the chat. Tell us how you're connected to UC San Diego. Maybe tell us where you're currently located at the moment. Feel free to throw that into the chat, and we'd love to all be able to take a look at what's there if you're comfortable doing so. Now, as I'm sure you all know, UC San Diego graduate students and alumni are anything but ordinary. They help us find new ways to prepare for earthquakes and prevent wildfires, to generate clean energy and mediate political tensions, to grow sustainable food and spark community change. They are entrepreneurs launching new businesses. They are educators teaching our children and healthcare providers who help us to thrive. They conduct research. They mentor undergraduates, they become industry experts, and they go on to discover novel approaches, patent new technologies, and even change the world. We look forward to our time together this afternoon, where we will be able to hear from some of our remarkable graduate alumni and dive into a conversation with them that's focused about their indelible impact. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started by introducing our panelists. I'm going to ask each of our panelists, there's three of them, to say a few words about who they are, what they studied when they were a graduate student at UC San Diego, and if each of you could tell us what you're doing now. So Cecilia, we're going to begin with you.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor to be here. And I'm a very satisfied customer of UCSD, I have to say. I'm very blessed to have my dream job. I consult on renewable energy projects. Renewable energy has been my passion. And I work in the US and in Latin America. I'm from El Salvador, so I was born there, but grew up in Los Angeles and studied Japanese. So for me, going to graduate school and finding, now it's called GPS, the graduate policy school, was just like the best thing on the planet. So I work on renewable energy projects, doing consulting with developers of all kinds. And I also work on policy, developing markets in the United States and throughout Latin America.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. Kristen, would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to us?
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Brownell. I started out at UCSD as an undergrad in the Muir College back in 90 to 93, majored in biology, minored in healthcare and social issues. I worked with some of the Amnesty International groups, Catholic Charity, some of the folks assisting the Central American migrants at the time. Then I went away to Peace Corps and came back for medical school. And then I got my MD and PH at UCSD School of Medicine, a combo with San Diego State School of Public Health at the time, before we had our own public health school. So it was a combination, new kind of a thing at the time. And I've been working in San Diego. I came back after residency in family medicine, I got an underserved medicine fellowship at UCSD. So I taught at the UCSD Student Run Free Clinic project. So we get to work with medical students, pre-medical students, pharmacy, pre-farm, actually acupuncture, and I think they may even have chiropractor now, and dental. But anyways, it's a lovely multidisciplinary along with legal and social worker and students. So it's their 25th year now, and I was there at the School of Medicine when it first started, with part of the inaugural class where we fought to open it. So anyways, I work at the community clinics systems with Family Health Centers of San Diego. I started out with San Ysidro, but working all along the border. And now I'm in City Heights and have worked there since 2007 with our refugee immigrant population. And now also working with a county doing refugee health assessments. So I kind of love international medicine, local, get to be involved locally with newborn, pregnant women, adults, and I'm also a civil surgeon. So I help people apply to become citizens, which has been really gratifying. And I'm on the board, also our San Diego Academy of Family Physicians. I'm our past president, so I'm involved on the state level with policy, healthcare policy, trying to promote primary care and trying to figure out why the US has not as great health outcomes as our other developing countries.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Well, Cecilia and Kristen, I'm just so impressed with both of you. It's amazing to hear everything that you've been doing. Pierre, why don't you round the corner here and tell us about you?
Absolutely. First of all, honored to be here with such distinguished colleagues and to continue to be a part of the ecosystem that UCSD is. So I'm the founder and CEO of Go Green Agriculture. I'm an entrepreneur. I started this business when I was 22 years old and doing my undergrad at UC Riverside. And I was inspired to take technology. I had a professor who worked with NASA to grow lettuce on the space station. And I was so inspired by that concept that I thought I wanted to bring that level of innovation, engineering, and a way to solve challenges in our industry here to Earth. And this background here I've got is one of our facilities in California. We have 3 now. We grow organic produce and also make salad kits where we process, wash, dry, bag, turn into Caesars and that kind of stuff. It's been a really exciting journey to build this company. My MBA was during the very beginning of my journey with Go Green as we built it up. So during my time at the radio school, I raised capital. We were pre-revenue at the time, and by the time we were done, probably had 50 employees just in those couple years. And where we are today is now we've got massive distribution. We work with Costco, Walmart, Safeway, Kroger, et cetera, and we have huge plans to keep going.
I'm so impressed by all 3 of you. It's really incredible. This is going to be a great, great conversation. So thank you for sharing a few words of introduction. And as we have our conversation, as you think of more that you're up to and more that's inspiring you, please don't be shy. People would love to hear all about all the great things that you are up to. So thanks for helping us to get to know you just a little bit better. I mean, you've had remarkable journeys. So my hope is that our discussion today will take us an even deeper dive into the tangible things that you are doing every day and what you think is the significant impact that you are having on our immediate region, the country, and frankly, around the world. To the audience, I want to remind everybody who's attending that we are going to allow time towards the end of our conversation for a Q&A. So feel free to use the Q&A feature in Zoom to just drop your questions. We will monitor them as we get to the end of the program. We'll go ahead and get through as many of those questions as we can. Okay, so alumni, I'm going to ask a question and we'll give each of you an opportunity to say something about that. Each of you has told us a little bit about your work. Thank you for that. I'd love if you'd elaborate on how you are pushing boundaries or innovating in your respective fields. Can you please give us some insight into who it is that you believe benefits the most from your work? What is the ripple effect of your work? Cecilia, let's start with you. And I think we're still on mute, Cecilia.
So when I graduated from the School of Policy and Strategy, GPS, I started working with Kyocera, a multinational corporation from Japan. They hired me because I spoke Japanese, Spanish, and English, and they had operations in Latin America, and they were involved in solar energy. So that was my draw. It was kind of like, a match made in heaven, if you will. And one thing that became clear when I started working there for my first corporate job, really, I've been working before, but not in that setting, in a multinational corporation. They used to call me the pathfinder because I think it has to do with my training at GPS, but my attitude as well is I don't like to do the same thing, and I like to find new ways. And so that has been kind of my signature. So when I started getting involved in solar energy, there was no market, and I was supposed to be marketing manager. And I went to the company and I said, there is no market. So we have to create a market. How do you do that? So we have to go to the policy. And I started working with government and policy and with our competitors in the industry to develop a market for solar energy. And we pushed the boundaries because back then solar was prohibitively expensive. And I remember standing before the California Energy Commission advocating for the solar program that became the Solar Initiative, which really revolutionized solar energy in the country and probably in North America. And California became the biggest market in our hemisphere. So when I was advocating, naive me, I can do anything, I would say we want a 10-year program and want to, do kind of like what Japan did, imitate the program a little bit and just modify it to fit California. And the main commissioner, I remember looking at me and saying, Cecilia, first of all, you're not in Japan. Politicians in this country don't think long term. So this is a short term. So I thought there is no way. At the end of the day, well, we ended up with a program that was 10 years, and we were asking for $1 billion for incentives, and they gave us $3 billion. But we delivered, instead of delivering what we promised, 3 gigawatts worth of solar energy, we delivered 7, and the market keeps growing. So the impact was not only on the issues of the need for energy, but also in creating jobs, because at that time we had a recession. And it was perfect timing for the solar industry because we were hiring the very people that were getting laid off from the construction industry. So everything we do, we think that we impact just the immediate, like if it's in food production, the farmers, you impact the whole economy. So in energy, I'm really proud and I pinch myself that I can work in an industry that impacts the environment, energy, the economy, and really even healthcare.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Cecilia. I mean, your work on energy, I mean, first of all, it predated so much of people's present occupation with renewable sources of energy, and amazing all that you've done. And wow, to be able to not only convince government to invest in it, but to do more than you initially thought. That's just truly, truly incredible. And I certainly see all the ripple effects, and it's going to be work that continues to enrich everybody for decades to come. Pierre, I'm curious if you'd be willing to maybe build off of that and tell us a little bit about the benefits of the work that you do, what the ripple effects are. How are you pushing boundaries with your hydroponic work?
Absolutely. Pushing boundaries is like Go Green's middle name. It's what we do. So, first to kind of understand the challenge is the important thing. So the industry of creating food, produce and the way that we supply America and the world with food has a lot of systematic challenges to it. There's scarcity in resources, labor challenges, weather, food safety, all these different things that compound into a very dynamic and difficult type of, and now with supply chain challenges, it's become really difficult to scale and do it efficiently and safely. So what Go Green does, what we do, is we take a scientific approach to bite off, kind of characterize what are some of the most fundamental challenges that we have, And we address those by taking a very engineering approach to doing that. And the way that we start by doing that really is first by building leaders within the company who can go out and create more change. So my approach is really not, I'm taking the steering wheel and I'm trying to steer the ship. It's how do we build as many leaders who are autonomous and we provide them the right resources with a pointed mission that we're going after, and we go after that. So to give you an example of one of the things that we've done recently that has really been a game changer, romaine lettuce is one of the most plagued in food safety. People die almost literally every year from E. coli, salmonella, listeria, those types of things. And supply chain has been a huge challenge with it. So it happens as you grow out in a field. What we've done is we challenged ourselves to grow romaine in a controlled environment, greenhouse, automated using all robots. And we're addressing food safety directly. We're addressing labor challenges by automation and these types of things. And we're able to make a huge impact in that. We have now successfully put together the first and only indoor romaine growing facility in, I believe, the world, if not at least the US, where we're going from seed to Caesar salad kit that you would now find in Costco and beyond, all through automation and that type of thing. So we are building systems that are solutions to systematic challenges that the industry has. And we're really focusing on doing this by building leaders who can take this and continue building it so that when I'm gone and Go Green hopefully continues to exist or they move on to other places, they continue to take that way of thinking of taking a challenge, solving issues in a systematic way, and creating that ripple effect that we're talking about.
Thank you, Pierre. Very, very impressive. Kristen, I mean, from your introduction, I imagine the notion of pushing boundaries or even exceeding boundaries is a natural fit for the question. I mean, you were talking about the way you do your work in medicine and public health, really across several different kinds of boundaries. I wonder if you might elaborate on your answer to this question. So how does your work push boundaries? In what ways are you innovating here so that there's a secondary level impact or a ripple effect of your work?
Great. Yeah, I would say my work involves pushing boundaries, teaching, and working with a community. The community clinic where I had worked for a number of years, we decided we needed more healthcare workers, more physicians to serve the underserved and address our health disparities, have folks specifically trained to deal with patients who have higher needs and social determinants of health. So we started a family medicine residency that's a teaching health center graduate medical education. So it's actually not the traditional based in the hospital. It's more based, we want folks to work in the clinic, in the community. They have a hospital they work at, but so we work with them in the clinics. In the community clinics, we have 34 sites, but they're mainly housed in City Heights and Hillcrest and some other locations. But then they're trained to address specific needs. We have a global track, a global health track. We have an HIV, hepatitis C track. I'm not in charge of that one, but I'm part of the founding faculty. I'm a core faculty there, and I run our global medicine, our community medicine programs. And then with family health centers, we have a lovely grants team and kind of talk with them about the needs, of our patients and how it would be lovely to offer more services. So we have like a group diabetes visits that I lead. I've worked with a community doing sessions called Dialogue with a Doctor, where I've worked with a community group, United Women's East African Support Team, and where before COVID, we would cook together and talk about health, and then eat together. And we had folks who spoke many different languages. So we'd have over 5 different languages being interpreted. We'd had Christian, Muslim. Some people would be praying while other people would be drinking tea, and you could really delve into issues that you don't get into in the exam room in a 10 or 15-minute space, especially folks who don't feel comfortable speaking up, but when you have a safe place and you're empowering folks to do things, it's been really rewarding. So that developed into a grant where we worked with 6 different organizations in San Diego, including UCSD Center for Community Health, and San Diego State, Nile Sisters Development Initiative, International Rescue Committee, and we did community-based participatory research, and we addressed a sensitive topic, female genital cutting, behaviors and risks for that to happen for the folks who resettle here in the States. So are they going to practice a behavior that maybe it was common in the countries they were coming from, but it was illegal here? What are the beliefs amongst the new arrivals? The CDC had calculated over 500,000 girls and women would be at risk of being cut. So just to work with the community and talk to men, talk to women, we did focus groups and questionnaires and worked with the community and shared the information back. Anyways, and developed provider training to make physicians more culturally sensitive, and a sustainable CME that was free. We offered for a few years through UCSD for the whole UC system. People could sign up. So anyways, all sorts of things. So I kind of love just working with the community. So I get invited to do those sorts of things. Most recently, because of COVID, there are mental health needs, and there's a new session where we're talking as a community and 12 different groups, inviting, specifically targeting the youth and trying to destigmatize mental health. So our first session was on Wednesday, and we talked about gut health and mental health. And I kind of led a discussion, and then community members took over, and I answered any questions on the side. So we're hoping to kind of keep it going.
It's incredible. Let me switch gears for all 3 of you. I want to talk about, I mean, people who are watching this or who will watch this later are clearly just going to be inspired by the path that you've taken, everything that you've done. They may just want to be like you. So what responsibility do you feel you have to help others who choose to follow your example and become innovators or activists or change makers, much in the way you are? Kristen, let's start with you, because I think your answer to the previous question kind of dovetails, and then we'll go to Cecilia and then Pierre.
Myself. Yeah, as far as the next generation of students and residents, I think mentoring is the key. And I have to say, just going through before the resident work hours, I got burned out after my family medicine residency. That's why I did the underserved medicine residence fellowship, and kind of like, why did I go into medicine? And the students kind of teach you, or kind of help you reboot, so you're less likely to get burned out and keep the bigger picture and the motivation to keep doing the important work. So I feel like our students can teach us, our community can teach us, and following through the relationships over time is very rewarding. So I think that's in the long run, because you're not going to be there, just like Pierre said, you can't do it all. You're not going to be very effective if it's just you. So you want to train an army of people to be doing good work and inspire others, and address, right now for physicians, address like well-being, and that you care about them as people. So
I love that metaphor of training an army of people to follow the good work. Cecilia, how do you think about that next generation of change makers like you who are inspired when they hear your story? How do you think about working with them and inspiring them to be like you and even maybe exceed your wildest dreams?
Yeah, I 100% believe that you've been fortunate to given this gift for me to be able to work in what I love, and do want to inspire others because it's important. And besides, as I mentioned, I'm a consultant in development of projects, but I also said policy and market development. And that I do through the Institute of the Americas that is housed at UCSD. It's just, I'm telling you, my job is a dream. And with the Institute, I'm the director of the Energy Transition Initiative. And we get a lot of interns from not just the GPS program, but other programs from the, the business school and from the policy program and others. I love doing that because I love inspiring and challenging them and doing things for them so that they can step up. We just recently did a project through the Institute, and we worked with a school in across the border in Tijuana, a college in another nonprofit, and it was to how to eradicate energy poverty in Baja California. I mean, you would think Baja California is a really wealthy state in Mexico, but you have 3% of the population that has no energy. How can that possibly be? And they do the study, and just to see like the students were doing interviewing people in those communities, and when they came back with the findings, and just to see like the passion they have, they couldn't believe that they were doing this. And I see the same when we work with the interns at UCSD. They want to do more, and they always ask for more. And I'm again blessed because through the Institute we have a lot of networks, and through the networks we can connect the students, and also we try to recruit students to come because they might come from other universities and so on. And when they work with us and they see everything that we have to offer in San Diego, they really get inspired.
Do you find, Cecilia, just quick follow-up, when you're working with those student interns, do you find that they inspire you to think in a different way sometimes? Absolutely.
And that keeps you fresh. I mean, I love that because otherwise it gets stale. I mean, if you're doing the same thing and you're in your own cocoon, there is nothing to learn, right? You can push forward, but I like to expand. And the students bring me that fresh outlook, things that I didn't think about, or how do you do better?
Yeah, that's a great answer. I totally agree. The students just bring us a whole new orientation sometimes on the work that we've been doing for a long time, and sometimes even give us new questions, right, to ask, or maybe to see those questions in a different light. So Pierre, how about you? How do you think about that next generation and inspiring them, working with them to do the things that you do, or maybe even to exceed everything that you've accomplished already?
For sure. I feel a profound responsibility to do that within the organization and then beyond. There's this saying, it's better to teach somebody how to fish than give them a fish. But to me, there's one notch above that. You can teach somebody to teach other people how to fish. And that's really the scalable concept of not just building leaders, but building leaders who build more leaders. And that is so much like at the core, fundamentally, how we try to approach things, how I try to approach things in our leadership style within the organization, is that specific concept. We work a lot on unlocking the best versions of ourselves. Here, we invest a lot in coaching, in mentorship, in providing autonomy. And the idea behind that for me is, in order for the company to be the best version of itself, or to do fundamentally groundbreaking, disruptive things, well, the company is comprised of several individuals who, if they can all, in a critical mass, unlock the best version of themselves, then the company, therefore, will unlock its best version of itself. And that, to me, is taking the kind of ground level approach of how we do that and roll that out. I've been known to do some kind of strange things here at the office. Folks will come in, the lights will be off, incense is on, and I've got music going. We all sit down and I'll do a quick meditation with everybody just to kind of, to me, the idea is we're disrupting brain patterns. It's constantly putting yourself outside of what you thought you were going to do, put yourself into a different mental state. And these are the things that are kind of tools in how I don't want to personally be in the driver's seat myself. I want to empower the organization to be in a driver's seat. And I think that it's through these types of mechanisms that we're able to have a ripple effect not just the organization, but in beyond, into our community and what we actually do. Creating people who know how to disrupt brain patterns of others, of children, of vendors, of customers. You know, this is where we are weird on purpose, for the purpose of creating this idea of a mindset of innovation. You know, I've heard many times in organizations, you have like a director of innovation. While I think that could work in a certain way, to me, the idea of innovation and disruption is really more of a mindset. It's a culture. It's something that from, you know, the secretary to the very end, it's something that we're all looking at. How can we just challenge the status quo in anything, from the way that we do things internally to the way that we, you know, project this into the world. And so I think by instilling this fundamentally into everybody, like it is our core values, we print this on our business cards, it's on everything that we do. That is the way that we take our responsible approach, or taking responsibility for creating and sharing the idea of disruption with the community and beyond.
I love that idea of disruption. And I'm going to go off script just for a little minute, go back to Cecilia and Kristen. When you think about your work, as Pierre was just describing, how do you get, Cecilia, people to think about becoming disruptors themselves in the energy space?
Well, I think we have no choice now. I'm promoting what's called decentralization. And it's funny with Pierre that I am getting involved in agrivoltaics. So I believe that we need to decentralize energy and decentralize food production. Otherwise, we're not going to survive. And that's part of the adaptation. So because we are in this effort to adapt, I think we have no choice. And we have to disrupt. And I think people, young people especially, know this very well. And I think that's why we have hope. Because now kids don't want to, use, they're into the electric vehicles, it's technology. So all these things, all this innovation comes to disrupt. But the beauty is, I think we're ready. I think the society is ready for the disruption.
I love that. And I totally agree. They're ready to disrupt us, whether we want to or not. So Kristen, how about you in your fields and discipline? How do you think about getting people to form a disruptive orientation or be disruptors themselves?
Yeah, I think it's important to disrupt maybe the dysfunction, I have to say, of like the medical system. I feel like healthcare is a human right, and how can we make that happen? When I started at the free clinic, our undocumented children were not covered, but luckily here in California, some of our leaders at the clinic went to the state and advocated. So now they have health insurance. And now in May 2022, everybody, regardless of their immigration status, 55 years and above, if they qualify for emergency Medi-Cal, we're transitioned to Medi-Cal. So I have patients I've been seeing for years who now can see specialists and get surgeries done or get cancer treatment, whatever they need. But I feel like we need more of that. We need people advocating for medicines to not cost so much money that they're crossing the border to get medicines and getting, ending up in our ERs and ending up sick. And it's much cheaper to do the prevention and and it's just much more humane. So I feel like people are maybe a little more ready for healthcare as a human right. I know we like to have all our different brands of healthcare, but we can at least try to put more money into primary care and addressing health inequities. And I think everybody can find their way to make a difference. There's so many things that can be fixed, but they can find their little niche to be an expert in and kind of push themselves and push the limits. And when something's wrong, don't just take no for an answer. Yeah.
I love that. I'm inspired by all three of you because it's so clear that at the very core of the work each of you does, you're pushing these boundaries, you're asking questions that people didn't ask before, you're refusing to yield to the status quo. And I think that's probably why each of the three of you has been so impactful and effective. Now, I will say as a dean at UC San Diego, I like to think that, you having earned a graduate degree earlier in your career maybe has something to do with giving you the skills or the orientation to do the kind of work you do. But I'm curious if you agree with that. What specifically about earning a degree has given you the real world perspective you have to kind of navigate your career and your professional path? Pierre, let me start with you.
For sure, it has had a big impact for me. So I was 3 years into starting my business when I started my MBA at UCSD. And the impetus for me to do so was originally I wanted to build credibility because I was so young at the time, having started a small little business. I remember walking into these corporate offices for a Safeway, a Kroger, whatever, and they would just look at me like this kid just walked in the door. And I just felt like I needed to, have some more tools in my toolbox. So what I ended up getting at the radio school was a lot more than just credibility. The networking component as one, the individuals that you meet, the caliber of folks that you get to interact with, and the community involvement that it plugged, or the community that it plugged us into was tremendous. Through that, we raised capital. I found some of the best talent that I've been able to find within my company. It really has been an incredible thing for us, for me. So it really has played a fundamental role in Go Green's growth and myself as an individual, in the way that I was able to sharpen my skills and have some of the tool sets that allowed me to speak and have the right jargon with the more sophisticated investment capital and VCs and stuff that we would eventually come to work with.
That's great. What was missing in your experience as a student? Anything you think about that maybe you wish you would have had that UC San Diego in the future should try and do for future generations of graduate and professional students?
That's a great question. I think that in the radio school, I had such a in-depth immersion there. It would be maybe great to have more interaction college to college. I think that there are so many little micro, or not even micro, but I mean, these little kingdoms within that comprise UCSD, and having an interdisciplinary connection between them, I think could really promote just innovation, creativity, all sorts of things. I mean, I would have loved to not only, have been plugged into the radio school, but also, with the engineering college, or the arts, anything. I think that would have been really great to do. One of the things that I could imagine is, I think that the graduate program, or the alumni kind of connection, really kind of starts once you graduate. That's when you start to plug in and et cetera. I think that could start a little bit sooner. Getting students involved prior to graduation with graduate students and being involved in some of the activities, I think could boost probably retention and attracting more individuals who will take a very active role post-graduation.
Those are great ideas, and we're jotting them down furiously. So thank you for your candid answers. Kristen, let me pitch it over to you. The first part of the question is, what did getting a degree at UC San Diego mean for you? How has it shaped and continues to shape your daily life as a professional? And maybe the second part of the question, what do you wish, looking back, that you had more of as a UC San Diego student?
Yes, I feel privileged to have gotten a graduate degree, and from UCSD, I feel like I did get some of the most meaningful experiences were the interdisciplinary projects. There was a project from the medical school where we worked with the School of Public Health at San Diego State and across the border with UABC in Tijuana, and worked in Baja over time on a project that's still ongoing. they've been going since, yeah, I don't want to say when I graduated in 2001 from the medical school, but I got the technical skills, but also the region is so ripe with, the biggest border in the world and people from all over, and people looking to collaborate. And I feel like the free clinic project, where we had folks from different disciplines within the healthcare system, and it was right as the School of Pharmacy was in its baby seedling at thinking of starting, and now it's huge. It's hard to imagine us without our School of Pharmacy, but they had pharmacy professors from UCSF there. I don't know, I feel like finding a mentor within the school, and they had those there, and I got to connect with other medical students who are like-minded that I'm still good friends with now, and we are support for each other and kind of support each other professionally and also emotionally, because we've grown up all these years together. So anyways, what do I wish that UCSD what could they do more for us? I do think connecting students to folks out in the field who are alumni, how to connect them or get the alumni to come back and be involved. There would be the magic in that. It is rewarding when we do that, but everybody gets really busy. So luckily in my field, they have rotations where they always, we can sign up to have folks rotate with us. So I don't know if they have that sort of a thing in the business field or in the policy energy field. Would be nice, like rotations with you guys. So
it's a lovely idea. I know that UC San Diego is giving a lot of energy right now to thinking about advanced mentoring networks, which will involve alumni. And it sounds like so far, the both of you, but I'm going to guess all three of you agree that that's something to continue investing in. Thank you, Kristen. Cecilia, so tell us what getting the degree from UC San Diego meant for you, how you use it on a day-to-day basis. And if you could go back in a time machine and ask for something more than what you got, what would you suggest to the university?
Wow, it's a very hard question, because the second part, the first part is I couldn't be here, to be honest. There's no way. I'm a product of the UC. I went to UCLA and I studied Japanese. And I was so excited. I'm gonna work with a Japanese company doing business in Latin America, in the United States. How do I do that? There's no way. Nobody was gonna take me seriously. I had a poli-sci degree. It used to be called IRPS back then, International Relations Pacific Studies, and now it's called GPS, Graduate Policy and Strategy. And wow, everything I learned, it was like a boot camp, because we learned business and policy integrated at the same time, and that was innovation. Like nobody had that. And Kyocera was recruiting. We had companies coming to recruit there because they had both. So for me, they were like, oh my God, I can believe it. On top of that, she speaks Japanese. So it was amazing. There's a class that I think they're still teaching, and it's just like everybody, all the people that I went to school with still know it. It's called policymaking process. And it helps you understand relationships, how to deal. We always tap into that class for everything, in the dating space, in the marriage, in the kids, in business, of course. So I just, all the skills and the tools. And when you go through school, because it was a boot camp the first year, I was like, why am I doing here? There's no way. Why am I going to use accounting? I'm not going to be an accountant. I want to do marketing. All of a sudden, everything you learn, the years go by, and you using all these things, and it all comes back to you. And then you're like, oh my God, I feel so ashamed for not being grateful at that time, being overwhelmed by the workload. But it was, incredible. So for me, there is just no way I would have gotten anywhere near to where I am right now if it wasn't because I had that degree, because people know the program. A lot of the companies, in my case, because of the nature of the degree, I have networks that are insane. I mean, in the embassies all around the world. And talking about, you were talking about how to integrate more. Before I got in my first year, that summer, when I knew I was accepted into the GPS program, I was in Tokyo, and they're like, "Oh, we have an alumni in Tokyo," and I just like call somebody out of the blue, and they're like, "You want to stay at my house? Come over here. I'll take you up." You can be anywhere on the planet. You go to Singapore, you're like, "Where's my alumni group?" And they take you in. To me, that it is a global family that you can. How are you going to get that? And just the quality. For example, today, right before I came on this call, I was on a call with a recent graduate of GPS that was an intern at the institute, and now I'm trying to do business with his company, the company that hired him. So those are the connections that I don't know how you're going to get them if you're not there, if you didn't get your degree. But in terms of what I wish, in my case, I did have all these networks. I was able to work with people who graduated because they would come all the time to the school when I was in grad school. And I'm trying to do the same for people who are getting in or who want to get into the GPS program. The only thing I was just struggling because the program was so hard. So I can even think about what else do I need? I mean, and don't take me wrong, we had a lot of fun because there used to be there was a beer garden or a brewery on campus, and we used to go with the alumni, just anybody who wanted to come to campus. We used to have, I think, once a month or something. So there were activities. It's just how to find them. It's not as easy as maybe now, because now you have the website and everything. So I think making information more accessible will help a lot.
Yeah, that's great. And of course, that sort of social interaction and networking face to face is something that we've all been, starving for the last couple of years. It's been tremendously challenging. We're coming to the last 15 minutes or so of our time together. I want to ask the three of you just one last question and then see if there's any. I know we've got one question in the Q&A that I definitely want to ask you. This year's alumni celebration is Destination UC San Diego, but we want to explore more about the destinations you have reached. So I'm going to ask you to shamelessly brag. What are some of the most impactful experiences that you've had or accolades that you have received? Is there one thing that particularly stands out to you that's meaningful to you, and why? Cecilia, let's start again with you.
Well, so there's two. There's the solar initiative, the California Solar Initiative, to create that program, to be part of the team that built it. It's incredible to me that I was able to do that and catapult me to more in the space of renewable energy. And the most recent one is the one that we just finished, the study on the energy poverty in Baja California and building the roadmap on how to eradicate. And I am so proud to say that this week we started the implementation. And I'm being part of that implementation. And to me, it's kind of my goal is to build a blueprint that we can use in other states in Mexico and other countries. But that's, it's like you see the fruit of your labor, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's amazing. Very inspiring. Kristen, what about you? What figurative or literal, metaphorical destination have you reached in your career that you're just really darn proud of?
It's hard for me to brag, but I guess I'm proud that I'm able to have been part of creating a teaching center that serves our underserved refugee immigrant patient population. So we have 6 spots a year and we have over 1,000 applicants, and we're getting people we're trying to weed out the ones that don't just want to live in San Diego, but that will stay and work with this population or work elsewhere if they don't work here, and be innovators in the field, advocating for social justice and healthcare justice, and and I'm privileged to work with our refugee new arrival populations. We're building a tall building across the street where we're hoping to house refugee mental health services that are specific for them, and maybe even for families, like a family setting. And I would love for us to kind of have a center for excellence where we're San Diego is one of the biggest borders in the world, and we should be kind of on the cutting edge for offering services in those areas. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Pierre, how about you? What's a shameless brag, a destination you've reached?
When I started the Go Green at the beginning, I felt really not well received by the community of farmers. I didn't look like them. I didn't talk like them. I was challenging directly what, the status quo was. So I didn't really have a sense of satisfaction of I am making a difference in our industry and community. And 2 years after graduating from Brady, I received a call from the White House. I didn't take the call because I thought it was spam. It literally just said White House. And it turned out that I had been selected to receive an award at the White House called the Champion of Change in the Future of Agriculture. And I was one of the most proud moments of my life. I took my father and my wife, and I received an award by President Obama in Champion of Change of the Future of Agriculture. And that in and of itself just validated you're on the right track and you are making a difference.
Wow, I find myself tearing up. It must have been incredible for your father to go to the White House. And
there were a lot of tears.
Yeah. Congratulations to all three of you. It's just truly inspiring. We have one question from Mike Zucker. It's a really great question. If you'll allow me, I'll ask it, and any of the three of you who want to respond to it, I think you all have something to add. The question is, could you highlight sort of an aha moment that you had when you feel like you finally honed in on your career direction? What advice would you give to students to help them minimize the obstacles they face when they're trying to get a more clear sense of their own direction? Whoever wants to respond first.
Well, I can respond, I guess. The one thing that I would say to students is, you think I'm going to go, I have to know exactly what I want. And that is kind of, I think, the wrong approach. I think you kind of know what you want, and sometimes you cannot articulate it. It's not clear in your mind, but deep down, you know what it is. And sometimes it doesn't come up until after you make the first steps. I mean, my goal was I wanted to work in a Japanese company. I wanted to use my languages, my skills, and I wanted to do something for Latin America, develop Latin America sustainably. I have no idea how to do that. So I made my first step and I started working. And as you take classes, as you're doing things, you will gravitate to those classes and to those people and to those networks that all of a sudden, it is not, if you look for that moment, you will not find it. But if you get involved in what you're doing, that in a path, then the moment will come. And then once it does, you will feel there is no option. There is nothing else. This is what I got to do. So I think we trip ourselves because we try to figure it out beforehand. And if you do that, you'll be frustrated. I think that you know exactly, at the core, you know where is that, even though you don't know exactly the form, you just keep walking in that direction and it will reveal itself. So that's what I would say.
Beautifully said. Kristen, do you have any thoughts on this question?
Yeah, I wanted to add that if you follow a passion, find something you like to do. Like I ended up in medicine through Amnesty International. Healthcare is a human rights, but I was fluent in Spanish, and then a physician needed me to translate for him. So I went to their clinic, like try something new. And then I asked them, how did they know what they wanted? And you just get involved, talk to people. I asked, how do you do medicine, being a woman? When do you have a child? When I saw a female physician say, how does it work? She's like, there's never a good time. Just do it. So I was like, okay, maybe, so you just ask people how they got there, what were they thinking? And put yourself a little bit in an uncomfortable position, searching and trying new things. And sometimes you have to work a little harder, a few extra hours, but it's rewarding in the long run. You'll find what you love, and then opportunities will come, and just take them. Don't be scared.
Equally beautifully said. Thank you, Kristen. Pierre, you got anything to add in terms of advice for students?
Sure. First of all, I very much agree with what Cecilia and Kristen said. Just the idea of showing up and being there is half the battle. But I'll add one of my own, which was a recent kind of aha moment for me. And it's the idea of having the audacity to do something crazy that you might think to yourself, I can't do that, or that's too much, or whatever. Some examples of that, a lot of times people think they need to pay their dues, or they have to earn the right to do something crazy, and you don't. I learned this. It sounds simple when you hear that, but recently I'd come back. I haven't raised any money for over 10 years, and we decided to do so recently. And at first, I was thinking and I perceive to be now too small. And I got some great advice from a billionaire person who basically said, listen, you're out there asking for $50 million, etc. That's too little. Go ask for 200. It'll be easier. And my instant reaction was, no, that's too much. Like, that's crazy. That's a huge. I thought 50 was a lot. And I changed my tone. I said, well, let me give it a shot. But I showed up with confidence. I mean, like, I want this, which is a very key part. You can't just be, audacity without the intentionality or confidence behind it. But I did find that suddenly these are the conversations that I'm having. I'm now in that league, just because I said that's the league I'm going to put myself in. There's, if these people don't know anything else of me, it's just what I'm projecting of myself. And I've realized that when you project what you want to be, where you want to be, you suddenly just are, because people take you for that. And that to me was huge. And I've taken that to think, if you're climbing the ladder within your company or whatever it is that you're doing, there's the thought that I need to pay my dues and have to go there. Or you can say, I want to be here and I'm going to start acting like I'm there. And you suddenly just find yourself there. That you create the pathway for yourself to arrive. So that would be my thought.
Thank you, Pierre. Wow, this has been an incredibly fabulous conversation. And thank you so much to the three of you, each of you, for sharing your perspectives and telling us about your stories of impact. We really are so lucky to have you in our graduate alumni community. And I know the people who are going to watch this at a later date are going to be really engaged with this content that you've provided in this wonderful advice, and frankly, just your inspiring stories. So thank you for giving us so generously your time. To the audience, I know many of you care about graduate students, and as many of you may know, our annual U.Care Day of Caring is happening right now. Having joined us for this session, I'm sure you'll care about graduate and professional students. So I invite you to consider making a gift to graduate education in these final few minutes before the campaign ends today. It's about to end right now, any minute, so go for it. By the way, a gift of graduate fellowships will be matched by our Chancellor, Chancellor Khosla, $1 to every $2 donated. So making your impact is even greater this year. So visit ucare.ucsd.edu, and I'm going to ask my colleague Tamara to drop a link into the chat so you can go there. And I hope you have a fabulous Alumni Celebration Weekend, and that you're able to engage and reconnect with all of the people and places at UC San Diego that you care about the most. I look forward to attending tomorrow evening's Alumni Award celebration from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. It's going to be in the REMAC gym. Perhaps I'll see you there. If you're there, please feel free to introduce yourself. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Again, I'm going to ask my colleague Tamara to drop some informational link into the chat about this event. So thank you all, audience members, for joining us at this Indelible Impact event featuring 3 amazing graduate and professional alumni who have transformed our region, but frankly continue to transform our region and make UC San Diego and the entire world a better place for all of their work. We really, really appreciate it. Cecilia, Pierre, Kristen, kudos to you. It's just unbelievable what you are doing, and we love you so much. Thank you so much for being here, and want everybody to take care and have a wonderful afternoon. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.